Hey, happy Wednesday from Radio Row Super Bowl 57. I'm Kayla Brett. I'm here with Roy Kessel, Sports Philanthropy Network. Folks, we are excited about this interview. Artis Stevens, big brothers, big sisters, here on radio with us at Super Bowl 56. It's great to see you back. And you brought along one of your buddies, Nate, right?
Yeah,
Artis, I'm going to let you introduce Nate, okay?
yeah. Well, listen, I don't think Nate needs an introduction, y'all. Maybe more. I need the introduction. No, we're excited because Nate Burleson is an incredible person, incredible professional media personality, but most important in what we've been talking about here just before we came on the interview is Nate is passionate about mentorship. And I'm going to let him tell and share more about his story. But we're doing some really incredible work at Big Brothers, Big Sisters of America. And we are talking about how we bring more mentors to support young people across this country. But you can't do that if you don't have the type of people who are willing to lend their voice, raise more awareness, and then bring the type of work and mission so that more kids are impacted and more communities are impacted. So I'm proud to have Nate as one of our big draft ambassadors. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that today.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I'm glad to be here. I've always felt like playing football was a blessing, and what we did on the field was something that always made an impact, but in the sports space. What I understood as I got older was that when you score touchdowns, you earn money, you live this lifestyle, all of that will fade. But what you do in these communities, that's what people will remember you for. And when you think about big brothers, big sisters, and what they've been able to do over the course of time, that's what they stand on. It's creating these long lasting relationships for these young boys and girls that need mentorship. And for me, growing up in Seattle, a household full of four boys, my mom and dad raised us right. It was an open door policy for every young boy, every young girl, especially those that didn't grow up with a two-parent household, those that were looking for some type of guidance or leadership or mentorship. And now at 41, a father of three, I realized that my best work is yet to come. And when I started this relationship with Big Brothers Big Sisters, it was an immediate yes. I didn't hesitate. It's funny, I was talking with the people that helped me out establishing relationships like this, and they were like, "Well, do you want any details?" I said, "No, no, no. I'm good. We'll work out the details later. I want this relationship to last a long time." But like you said, artists mentioned it. It's not just about your voice. It's also about your energy and being physically present. That's what I've learned when you're talking to these young boys and girls, just being there for them, sitting in front of them, talking to them. It means so much. It can literally change a child's life when they see that type of energy from you. And then they reciprocate that. So what you're doing, you're just creating footprints big enough for them to walk in, and then they end up doing the same thing for someone else down the line.
And we know Artis has been on here with us last year as well, and we followed the work with Big Brothers, Big Sisters. Incredible things. I'm involved with mentoring groups in Illinois and Chicago area. I think one of the things, Nate, you hit on that's so important is creating that, I'll call it a safe space where the kids have somebody that they can turn to that they know is going to be there to help and mentor and nurture them, not in a critical or judgmental way, but in being able to help them navigate some of the obstacles that occur during their life because all of us go through things within our lives and difficult times and having somebody that they started creating it. Kayla?
So, here's my thing, you guys, and this is where I need help, okay? So, I was on court ordered
Uh-huh.
probation until the day I turned 18, right? I grew up in a single parent household, no dad, didn't have a lot of positive role models in my life. What where does mentorship come in? Like when I was a kid, there weren't people just lining up saying, "Hey, yo, I want to be a mentor."
Yeah.
How do we recruit more mentors who understand? Listen, we can keep kids out of the juvenile justice system by just being there for them. I just needed somebody who could get it.
Yeah, Kayla, what you said is spot on. And here's what a lot of people don't know about Big Brothers Big Sisters, which I think is really important to share. And then it gets to the point of what you just outlined around the need for more mentors. We were started 119 years ago as an alternative innovation to the juvenile justice system. A lot of people don't know that. We were founded because there were kids who were being sent through the juvenile justice system because they were immigrants. They were in street gangs. They were homeless. They had all of these different things that people had attached to them, not who they were, but people had attached to them and said, we're going to send you through this system. And Big Brothers Big Sisters was started as a way to say, hey, there's something more innovative, something more creative, something more belonging and connection. So we call ourselves a Jedi focused youth empowerment organization because we were born from justice to create equity in kids' lives, bringing together more diverse communities so that every kid can feel included for opportunity in a better life. That's why we exist. That's the DNA of this organization. So you fast forward a century now, and we're seeing it with kids today, what they're facing, mental health, right? The connection to violence and the substance use. None of these things define who our kids are. What defines them is access, opportunity, empowerment, connection to positive relationships. So we are really focused as an organization in talking about how we create much more in terms of mentorship. We got 30,000 kids today on our waiting list. Most of those kids are boys, and most of those kids are boys of color, right? Our goal is how do we attract men, not recruit men, attract men because they have to feel like they belong in this organization and they have a place in this organization and they can feel connected in it. And that's why voices are so important right now. So one of the things we said that we're going to do is create a platform for more people to be able to engage and to elevate and lift these voices in action so that more people get involved. That's where we came together with the NFL and we came up with this concept called the big draft. Right. So the big draft is very simple. It's simple in the concept, but very powerful in the execution. While the NFL is drafting the next round of players,
Yeah.
Big Brothers Big Sisters is drafting the next round of mentors, right? So the NFL said, let's come together. Let's bring some of the best voices that we have, people, not just voices, as Nate just said, but people who are authentic to this story, who can communicate this story, who have lived experiences.
All right,
So
Artis, tag me in. Tag me in.
there's no
Tag
more
me
than
in.
Nate here. So Nate, bring it down, man.
Tag me in. Yeah, I'm a receiver. You got to pass me the ball, so I appreciate it. Now let me reemphasize that 30,000, most of those boys and boys of color that are sitting back waiting for that mentorship. And we do have the big draft, so you can hashtag big draft. For those who are wondering, bbbs.org. You can go and find more information. But we're looking for 60,000 bigs that we will draft in this big draft over the course of 60 days. And I feel like that number's a little low. So this is a challenge to all of us out there. Why don't we shoot for 10,000? I mean, because either way, we still need more. But that is the emphasis to go out there and find these gigs, and they are there. I feel like we are in such a good place right now where there are so many more people that want to give back to the youth. And here's the perfect way to do it. Oftentimes, we're sitting back as adults and we're asking ourselves that question: what can I do? How can I be involved? How can I change lives? Big Brothers Big Sisters is exactly that. And it's fairly simple. Once you reach out to us, you take one step forward, we will take two steps forward towards you and basically give you the blueprint to give. And it's just this snowball effect of graciousness and acceptance. And like you said, creating a safe space for the youth. And Artis, you mentioned a couple of things. You said diversity. You mentioned words like access and opportunity. And it's fitting because we are at Super Bowl 57. Now, I want to paint this picture. Years ago, around the time where he is talking about the inception of Big Brothers Big Sisters, a black man playing the quarterback position seemed like nonsense. They literally said he wasn't smart enough to play the quarterback position until there was access, until there was opportunity, until there was a group of people that looked at a black athlete and said, you know what, you can do it. There were people that allowed that athlete to have that position. And now you have Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts, two of the best quarterbacks in football, facing off in the biggest game. What does that mean? How do we parallel that to Big Brothers Big Sisters? These young boys and girls are looking for people to look at them and say, you can do it. You can accomplish everything. And then once we give them that access and that opportunity along with encouragement, they can do great things in this world. And then, like we said, once we pass it forward, as they get older, they do the same thing. And that right there is literally a seed that we can sow that is going to blossom into something special and create change in this world that desperately needs it.
And Nate, I'm going to take that one step further. We keep talking about normalized Black wealth. It's organizations like Big Brothers, Big Sisters that are going to normalize Black wealth. And we need to start addressing these issues. And we understand that you might not have that in your home, right? Like I grew up in a home, we were poor. We didn't have a car. Sometimes we didn't have a phone. Sometimes we didn't have a TV. So we didn't talk about money cuz there wasn't any. Right? And that's a lot of the families that big brothers, big sisters are serving. So if we're going to normalize black wealth to the people that are being served, it comes from the organizations that are leading those kids and mentoring them. I can't give
Yeah.
you enough props for paving that way for future generations, for this next group coming up. So that's a huge part of it, right? Like, how do we break
Yeah.
generational poverty? How do we break stigma?
For
How do
sure.
we break stereotypes, bias, racial residue? Big brothers, big
Yeah.
sisters, in my opinion, frankly, is
Yeah.
leading the way. Thank you for getting your sleeves rolled up, man.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
yeah, and it's understanding the flaws within the system, educating the youth on that, but then also like we are doing, it's being there, boots on the ground, creating motivation and making sure that the youth is excited for what they have in the future. I understand sometimes circumstances can cause young boys and girls to look at life and say, you know what, I'm having a tough go at it. But once you have someone in their life that believes in them, you'll be surprised how fast things change for those young boys and girls. And Big Brothers Big Sisters is a shining example of that.
and
I
and
want to
and we
say something
love
real quick too. Yeah, just real quick to something that Nate said, because it's also the living embodiment of what Nate is a perfect example of this, right? I grew up in a community where the idea was if you can see it, you can be it, right? So what we saw in our community
Yep.
was this idea of knowing what you could strive for, what you could go for. I was the first in my family to go to college and graduate, right? But that was because I had people,
Mm.
mentors, a village in my life that showed me that this was a path for me. So when I see a Nate Burleson, if I'm a kid and I see, oh yeah, this guy was a football player, right? But it's not football player, period. It's, hey, he's an entrepreneur. Yes, he's a media personality. Yes, he's a philanthropist. Yes, he's leading his own podcast. Like, yes, like the list goes on to see the various dimensions of who these guys are, right? And we
Yep.
were just talking about this at the NFL on a panel, that these players, they are so much more than the idea of just calling someone a ball player, right? So in our community, when we talk about wealth and sin, it's not wealth just the idea of achieving one goal. It's being multidimensional, being your full self and who you are, and that's
Yeah.
the power of what we do as well.
and I
Yep.
think one of the things that you both hit on that's so important, and we have it right here in our logo, right, is opportunity, right? The education and the empowerment elements are there, but having people feel that they have a real opportunity to be successful and understanding that, that mentorship, as you said, Artists, it's if you see it, you believe it, right? You know that you can have that opportunity. And for people we see all over the place that want to be in sports, want to work in sports, and we tell them there's a lot of ways to be involved in the sports world, right? Neither Kayla or I are professional athletes, right? We've been involved in the sports world for a long time, from sports law to sports media to education. There's so many opportunities out there. Talk a little bit about now as you're building up that base of mentors and as you're continuing to build that message, what's on track for these next 12 months?
Yeah, a lot of it's around growth, right? So going back to one of the things that we realized was that during the pandemic, we saw something change, and I think a lot of us saw some change in terms of how we deliver our services, how we deliver our programs. We traditionally serve 5 to 18. That's our traditional core for over 100 years now. Since the pandemic, our fastest growing population that we're serving is 18 to 25-year-old young adults, right? And people ask, why is that? Because kids are asking the question. They're saying, what do I do next when I graduate? How do I fill out that FAFSA form?
Right.
How do I get my skills for an
Right.
interview and a job, right? So our biggest growing programs right now is around career mentoring, right? We need more
Mm.
mentors who are focused on giving kids career exposure, career advice, career coaching. We got two young people right here who's actually watching this interview, right? Kristen and Isaiah,
Yep.
and they're
Yep.
modeling and they're looking at Nate, and Nate has been so gracious to even just let them like model and shadow him, because
Yeah.
that's exposure for kids to say, here's opportunities and here's things that I can do. And Nate, I know that you're really into this idea of how do we give kids more access and mentoring, but sometimes it starts with these what we think may be little steps, but they have big impact.
Yeah, and speaking of the two young men here, you have Christian and Isaac, two different paths that they might take. One who was thinking about sports and media, and then Christian who was talking about being an engineer. So when we talk about diversity, it's a double meaning. It's the color of your skin, but also it's the diversity in the different jobs that these bigs carry. So if you have a group full of boys and girls, it's great that you have people from all walks of life. You have somebody that might come from sports, someone that is in media, someone that is working in finance, someone that's working in art, a person that wants to be a teacher. What about a politician? Now you have full representation, diversity of these young boys and girls who are turning into young men and women, and they have all these things to choose from. You know, the best thing that we can have as kids is a blueprint on how to do more than one thing, because we know what happens once one door closes and people tell you can't do it, or you have self-esteem issues, or you're sitting there struggling with self-identity. Then all of a sudden you're packing it in and you're saying, you know what, this is all I thought I was good at. What Big Brothers and Big Sisters does, we show you a representation of how you can take over the world in as many ways as possible. And the reason why people identify with me is because I was a kid with lofty dreams. I just happened to play in the NFL for 11 years, but right now I have a few different shows. I do sports, I do news, I do a Nickelodeon show for kids. I also write poetry. I love music. I write scripts. And the reason I wanted to make sure I did all these things at the age of 41 is because I want to show kids that you can do more than one thing. And it's okay to fail. I failed at more things than I am good at. But what we are trying to show these kids is that we have adults that are in these spaces. If you have questions, we have answers. And we're not going to say the journey is going to be easy, but we are going to say we're going to clear as many obstacles as we can while you are along that path.
Well, you definitely need your own channel there for everything that you're doing. We need to have Nate 24/7, and I know I personally wish we could keep you here for 24 hours because there's so many more things that Kayla and I would like to talk to you about. But I know that you've got a lot of demands on your time down here on Radio Row for Super Bowl 57. Artis, Nate, on behalf of Kayla and myself, we appreciate you joining Sports Philanthropy Network for this important conversation, and we look forward to continuing the conversation in more detail about how Sports Philanthropy Network can partner with Big Brothers Big Sisters and partner with the mentorship program and everything that you're accomplishing over the course of the coming years. So thank you for taking the time to join us today. Kayla?
Before we sign off, I have a question for you guys. Our two amazing young men that are right across the table
Yeah.
from us. Before I hit end on this recording, do we have permission to bring them over and let them wave and shout that out? Are they under any media restrictions?
No,
Let's
we're
give them
good.
their minute of
Yeah,
fame.
no
Come
doubt.
on over,
You want to come over?
guys.
Yeah.
I'm going to hand over my stage.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm gonna let the awards. Is that all
Yep.
Yeah.
right? You wanna come take his mic?
Yeah. I already gave him some advice on how to not be nervous
That's
on
right. I love
camera.
it.
Hello. Hi. What's up?
So we were just talking about the importance of the Big Brothers Big Sisters program. So in your opinion, what do you guys think?
It's super. Yeah. Oh,
What are
you
you gonna
go?
say, Isaac? Okay, okay, I'll go. I'll
Alright,
go.
I was just gonna say, it's very important, it really helps, kids like my brother and I to express who we are and have opportunities and careers.
Yeah,
Love it.
and with my big brother, I love talking to him and be able to express myself and just be myself and understand things about life. Just understand things I may not know and just get more educated about things, and I just feel better about it. It was pretty great.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
I'm gonna let you guys close it
That's
out.
what I'm talking
And
about.
also give generously. You guys take it away. Close us out.
All right.
All
Go to
right.
bbbs.org for more information.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.